Hey guys, welcome to 3C Films. I'm Chris, and it's finally that time of the year where we get to look back, appreciate all the great films out there, put aside some of the ones we didn't like all that much. And honestly, looking back at all the movies that came out in 2016, I think it was a really great year. Everything else might have sucked, but the films were on point. That's something you can put in 2016 textbooks. Not to mention, it's also the year I started this channel, so thank you guys for all of you that have been supporting me along the way. I really appreciate you. Leaving a like, leaving a comment, it really helps out. And I'm definitely planning to stick around for the next year, so please share my videos, share my top 10 list. Anything helps out, guys. Thank you. And before I get into my top 10 list, guys, I do want to put a disclaimer out there that this is my opinion. It's my personal thought of the 10 best films that came out in 2016. I do take into consideration what some of the critics said, what audience reaction was, how much money it made at the box office. But overall, it comes down to my opinion and what I personally thought. And no worries, my opinion is pretty highly admired, so you're in good hands. So here are the 10 best movies of 2016. Number 10, Deadpool. Now this film was obviously going to be on everybody's top 10 list. I really didn't know where to place this one. I just knew it had to be on my list, and when it came down to it, it's just number 10. I had a really good time watching this film. It was so funny, so hilarious. Ryan Reynolds, the passion, the energy, everything he threw into this film, it's 10 years coming. Maybe even a little more than that, and it finally paid off. And there were so many things going against it. I mean, Deadpool was an obscure character that not a lot of mainstream people knew. The studio didn't have any faith in it, gave them a low budget. It's a film that just had landmark success, proving that rated R films can succeed, that the superhero genre isn't dying. So number 10, Deadpool, well deserved, awesome job, and I can't wait for the sequel. Number 9, Green Room. I'm a big horror fan. I love horror films, and I think 2016 was a great year for horror films. In fact, I have a separate list for it. Check it out on my channel. But Green Room was a film I was really looking forward to when I heard about it, because the director Jeremy Saulnier also made another film entitled Blue Ruin that I enjoyed a lot. So when this film came out, I had high hopes for it, and seeing Patrick Stewart as the villain, something I really haven't seen him play before, I was really excited to see. And the film turned out to be a suspenseful horror psychological thriller that I was interested all the way through. I like the passion involved with the rock music, even though I'm not a rock fan. And of course, having the late Anton Yelchin play as one of the leads was also really well done. It made me feel even more hurt when months later I found out he died. I was just very happy with the film, and I highly recommend it to any horror fans out there. Number 8, Hell or High Water. Hell or High Water is a film I wasn't really expecting much from. I got a Screen Pass to go see it, so I'm always up to see a free movie. And to be honest, I saw the first 10 seconds of the trailer and then I turned it off, which I guess is bad for me, but it just had that Western vibe and I'm not too keen on it, so I'd rather go in completely blank on the film than it having be slightly ruined by a trailer. And I was completely happy I decided to go with that, because the way the film was set up and the revelations going on in the film was really well done. I was so surprised with how interested I was throughout this whole film. Chris Pine, my god, I never thought him as a world-class actor. I just thought of him as an okay actor wherever he shows up. But in this film, he really proved his worth, and Ben Foster, a guy I've always liked, really great performance. Not to mention, I'm also a big fan of heist films, and this one had that heist element. It pulled off really well, and when you find out where everything is working towards, you really think it's a great cause, and you're just sort of happy with the way the film ends. It was just a nice one close film. I really enjoyed. I highly recommend it. It is slow paced, but I think it's a well-deserved film that you can enjoy on any given Saturday. Hopefully Chris Pine gets some sort of recognition come Oscar time, or the film itself I think definitely has a shot for Best Picture. That tells you a little bit of how good it is. Number 7, Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping. The crew of The Lonely Island are some of the funniest people. I was introduced to them when I was in middle school when Jizz in My Pants came out. I'm in middle school and a song called Jizz in My Pants comes out. I was that kind of kid growing up. Anytime The Lonely Island is involved in some sort of film, I have to go out and see it, whether that's Hot Rod or MacGruber. Popstar wasn't even a film I was all that keen in seeing, because while the trailer was interesting, it was shot in such a different format that I didn't think I was going to enjoy. The film comes off in this sort of mockumentary style, but it's also shot in a regular camera format. I just feel the film was completely wrongly marketed, and I think that's why it failed at the box office, but really it's an amazing film. It's a parody film at its core, making fun of celebrity lifestyles in the musician category. And man, do they do a fantastic, hilarious job. All the celebrity cameos, the jokes they made, the songs, Andy Samberg and the crew of The Lonely Island coming together, just A really great comedy that I wish got a lot more attention. It's really sad to see because they probably won't get another chance to do something like this for a while. But if you have a chance, rent it, buy this film, support it. It is something to definitely watch because a comedy crew like that needs to be making a lot more films. We don't need more Masterminds or crappy other comedies being released. This is the kind of stuff we need. So this film gets a high praise on my list. Number 6, Moonlight. Now, if I was the type of person that made best trailers of the year, I would put Moonlight as one of them. If you go back and just watch that trailer for Moonlight, the music, the scenery, everything they cut together, it was just a beautiful trailer in itself. And then I finally got to see the film. And this is a movie that deserves that title, film. It's cut up into 3 acts from child to teenager to adulthood. And you see this man, Chiron, grow up with his sexuality, what that means, his coming of age, how that affects his life. It was just a film that made me really attached to the characters, and the way they used the music just enhanced the storytelling. I think this film for sure, without a doubt in my mind, is going to be a Best Film of the Year Oscar nominee. Whether it'll win, that's a different story, but it's definitely going to go up there because if you watch this film, you'll understand. It's just the art of cinema at its finest with Moonlight. I highly recommend it. Number 5, Manchester by the Sea. When you talk about films that are hard to see a second time, this is one I will always mention. It's a film I really enjoyed that I had such a reaction to that I didn't get right away, but from the car ride home to even 3 days later from me watching this film, I was still thinking about it. It's just a film that psychologically tormented me the more I thought about it. Manchester by the Sea is a hard film to watch just for the subject matter alone, and also for the fact that you're not gonna leave satisfied in any way. The film is as realistic as it possibly can be from beginning to end. It isn't a type of movie that has a happy or even a sad ending. It just has an ending. Casey Affleck's performance is the thing that carries this film all the way along. It's also a very surprisingly funny film. I would even go as far as to say it's a dark comedy. But the subject matter is just brutally real. It's really hard to watch a second time, but I really want to watch it a second time, as weird as that may sound. It's a film I think that you need to prepare yourself for, get relaxed and comfy. Just don't expect to be happy by the end of it. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's an amazing film and I highly recommend this one. Number 4, The Edge of 17. On to something a little happier. The Edge of 17, I think, is the perfect rendition of a modern coming-of-age story. Because all of the best coming-of-age stories have happened a long time ago. Your 16 Candles, your Breakfast Club, your Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And every now and then it's hard to find a good coming-of-age story that still tackles that teenage drama because everything has been there, done that. Haley Steinfeld in The Edge of 17 is a perfect rendition of what a modern kid is today. She's completely relatable, so funny. You won't have a problem dealing with the fact that she's a girl and that you might be a guy watching this film. All the problems she faced are completely relatable. It's also a film that doesn't have a clear villain. Every person in this film has their own motivations that are clear and understandable. I know it's weird to put a little teenage drama film with a coming-of-age story so high on my list, but really when you get down to watching it, I think it's close to a perfect movie in its category. It's the type of movie I can see myself watching annually. And when something like that is worth watching over and over, you have to highly praise it. And I mean, Woody Harrelson as the stuck-up asshole teacher was really funny too. Number 3, Captain America: Civil War. The film that introduced us to the new Spider-Man. Yes, as a long Spider-Man fan, I was so happy with the way they handled his character, the way they introduced him, the actor they chose, everything about it just brought the film up a notch. Not to mention the film was also really intense, really exciting, and almost perfect in a way for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The second film done by the Russo brothers, an amazing job, a step higher from The Winter Soldier, and it also makes me excited to see what they're going to do with Infinity Wars. Perfect way to do a versus film where both characters were in the right. Iron Man and Captain America, you both could see where they were coming from. And man, when you're watching the movie, and spoiler alert, you haven't seen Captain America: Civil War, when you see what the Winter Soldier does to Tony's parents, and that goes down, everybody in my cinema was gasping, was awing. It was just one of those cinematic experiences you have in the movie theaters that was amazing to have. So completely happy with Captain America: Civil War. It has to go very high on my list just for the sheer fact I'm a complete nerd, a huge Spider-Man fan, and I love all the Marvel movies thus far. Number 2, La La Land. I never, ever, ever thought a musical would end up on my top 10 films of the year. As you can probably see, I'm not a big musical fan. I appreciate them. I'll go out and watch it and I'll grade it fairly, but I never found myself loving a musical so much like other people do. The last time I enjoyed a musical, I was a little kid and it had Vanessa Hudgens and Zac Efron. But La La Land with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone was just a beautiful movie. The music, in fact, wasn't even something that completely enhanced my experience. Of course, the songs were beautiful. There were nothing catchy, though, except for one. I did find myself singing City of Stars a couple of times, even saved it on my phone. But what really captivated me was the story, the character of Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, also the directing done by the same guy who did Whiplash. And with these two films, I can see now that this director has a clear passion for jazz, which I think adding that passion into your movie really shows. It was a really beautiful love story and the ending just killed me inside. If any manly man or Too Cool Joe out there thinking a movie entitled La La Land that is also a musical is going to be a crap film to them, it is not. It is one of the best films ever made, in my opinion. If you're a person who liked this film and found someone who didn't see it because of the title or because of the fact it was a musical, you need to shove it in their face and show the movie because they will be biting their tongue by the end of it. And number one for my favorite film of the year, Don't Think Twice. Don't Think what? Yeah, I know, it's a film you probably haven't heard of, but Don't Think Twice is my favorite film of the year. It's directed by a man named Mike Birbiglia. He's also a stand-up comic. If you haven't heard of him, I highly recommend his material. It is a little awkward, but it's some funny stuff. And he wrote and directed this film, and it's just beautifully done. It captures the essence of a comedian's life. It centers around a group of comedians who at day will have their typical jobs, working at a grocery store, maybe doing a little waitressing. But at the end of the day, they come together and do an improv show and one day hope to get discovered. And one day one of their friends does get discovered, and the aftermath of what happens, sort of splitting up the group, the jealousy, the envy, it just really plays out what would happen. And it's a really smart film. It's a comedy, but more of a drama. All the jokes in here are really smart. It might not be something that everyone will understand. I don't think it's a film you could show your mother and she'll be laughing all the time. This ended up being my favorite film for the fact of the characters and how I ended up liking every single one. How I wasn't bored a single second throughout this film. How it had me laughing. How it had me holding back tears. How it completely immersed me and just had me forgetting about the outside world for a few hours. I might be overhyping this film, but I think it's a film anybody would really enjoy, really understand. It's beautifully written, nicely directed. It's a film I would be completely shocked if it doesn't get some sort of Oscar recognition. It's a wonderful film. Highly, highly, highly recommended. If any of my top 10 films you end up seeing, it has to be this one. But anyways, guys, this has just been my top 10 films of the year. Please, if you're watching this, let me know what your top 10 films are. Leave them down below. So if there's a film out there you're wondering why I didn't put on my list, just comment down below and I'll let you know if I did or didn't see it and why it is or isn't on my list. But as always, guys, I'm Chris. Take care.